indeed a privilege to visit this holy place and get a chance to see what you're doing and also meet all of you and address you. Swami Amritapuri ji, Professor Venkatrangan, Vice Chancellor of Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, Professor Shankaran, Professor Shankar, other faculty members in the audience, staff and students. I think at the very outset I'd like to say that felicitations are really in order, because you've completed 2 decades from a small beginning as an engineering college, and I just heard about little more than 10 years since the university was incorporated. In this very, very short period, you have grown into a renowned university covering all aspects of learning. And this is the most important part, as was pointed out by your Professor Shankar, with an enviable record of service and attainment. I think it is quite appropriate to say that you make our country proud. I had the opportunity since morning, since the time I came here. Of course, I had an opportunity last night also to see a little bit of what's going on at the medical school. And since this morning, I've had the opportunity to see various research centers. The tremendous focus in a lot of the research on making a transformation, making a difference, changing society, serving society. That you've been able to get to this in such a short period is truly amazing. And this stupendous growth, I think, would just not have been possible without the blessings and loving care bestowed on you by Amma. All those who are associated with Amrita University and those who have passed through its portals till now are indeed very fortunate to be under her benign gaze. I am very encouraged by what I saw, and I think it's very matter of very short time from now before the entire world gets to see what you're doing, appreciate what you're doing, and begin to look at Amrita University and its faculty, staff and students as a very, very valuable resource for making a change in the lives of people. In fact, quite coincidentally, the focus of my address to you today will be the same topic. Studying at Amrita and equipping oneself with the solid wherewithal to take on the challenges of 21st century India and indeed the world must be quite exhilarating. I ask you to pause and take a deep breath, look around and gaze at the firmament, rather in the manner of one who has just come out into the bright morning light after spending years in a cave in meditation. What do you see? More importantly, what do you sense? Do you sense an India where aspiration is spelled with capital letters? An India where there are monumental challenges of finding, and quickly too, the food, water, housing, transportation, education and healthcare for 1.5 billion people. But an India at the same time which is going to give one big collective shot at overcoming these challenges. Seems very daunting, but we are going to take a shot at it, and I think we are going to beat the problems. Do you sense an India that is going to traverse the same path that other nations have taken from privation to plenty in the last century particularly? Or an India that is going to strike out differently so that when 1.5 billion are finally materially better off, I would say, our land, our air, our water and our forests are not ravaged, but are in a long-term sustainable equilibrium. I also saw about the entire program that Amma has launched in this regard. In other words, do you sense a moment of destiny? What is the relevance of all this, important as it may be to our country and to us as citizens, to those who are studying here today to become scientists, artists, engineers, doctors, administrators, nurses, whatever, and acquiring high quality education and training? What does all the big challenges and all of that have to do with what you are doing, particularly the students here? I'll tell you my thoughts on this. You can mull over them and take whatever you like. Above all, you must figure it out for yourself, because that is going to be the operating principle, definitely for your generation. Imagine the scale of what we are going to have to do in the next 4 decades in India, the decades where you are going to be the drivers. We have to grow 400 plus million tons of food every year and find the water for it. We have to build 10 plus crore homes, at least. Tens of thousands of kilometers of roads and metros in 50 cities. Provide 24 into times 7 electricity to all these homes, offices and factories. Treat water and provide it to 600 plus million urban households. Educate 750 million children at any given time, and provide health care to 1.5 billion. Can and will any of this be achieved by the usual methods of scaling? You start, you build something, and then you build it up, you double it, and so on. To answer this question, I have to tell you, spend a little bit of time, very small amount of time, and tell you a story about telecom in our country. I realize that for many of you, what we had in terms of telecom in our country 20 years ago would not be known. So I thought I will just tell you about this. Most of you think mobile phones were always around, and what's the big deal? But actually, the mobile revolution in our country began just a little before the year 2000. Till then, we were adding about 1 million telephone lines a year on a base of about 40 million. The population was already around 800 million, 900 million people. At that rate, we would still be at 50 or 60 million telephones today if we had continued. Not at 900 million or 1 billion where everybody has a phone. What happened? How did this tremendous scaling by a factor of 10 or more, how did it happen? Well, basically what happened was that the cost of providing a phone, and a mobile one at that, not just a landline, came down by a factor of 10 or more. That's the first thing that happened. And also, the technology became very easy to deploy quickly across the vast country like ours. It's unlike the old system where you had to dig trenches and put in cables and so on. This became very easy, the wireless technology. This resulted in a non-linear expansion to 750 million phones in just 10 years. And not only was the technology easy, it was also affordable. That was the key point. And the policy of the government that enabled such growth also helped. But really the key was these disruptive innovations. The disruptive innovations of technology in terms of rapid scalability and in terms of huge reduction in cost. So the answer for many of our challenges is to actually be able to do the same non-linear kind of attack, non-linear kind of solutions we have to find to all the other problems, whether it's water, housing, healthcare, whatever it is. And for this, we have to innovate. We have to find new technologies that are inherently scalable, new systems, new solutions. It's not necessarily that all solutions come from technology, but whatever it is, it doesn't matter. In fact, the hallmark of the innovator is that it doesn't matter where the solution comes from. If it's a good solution, you just take it. And you have to innovate disruptively, meaning you don't expect these innovations to be incremental, to change something a little better than what it is today. Most of them will disrupt and change completely the way it is being done. So the way telephones were done before the mobile revolution was you dug trenches, you put lines, you gave phones, you had to invest a lot and recover it over 20 years and all of that. Completely changed. So the other thing is these kind of innovations are not driven by established players. They usually emanate from new kids on the block who are hungry to try out new ideas and confident that they can come up with, once in a while, blockbusters. Many of the ideas will flop, there's no doubt about it, but that doesn't matter at all, right? You learn more from the ones that flop than from the ones that succeed. And when the good ones come along that really work, they just expand very rapidly. So all of this brings you, the next generation, squarely into the picture, because this kind of innovation, this kind of totally disruptive approach to problems is going to be done by you, not by people like us who are part of the establishment. In fact, we are not going to get to where we want to be without tens of thousands of people like youngsters like you innovating and finding disruptive solutions. New methods for treatment of disease and performing surgeries that make it possible to not only scale fast, but also drop costs so that healthcare can be expanded rapidly in an affordable manner. Energy independence for homes and offices using renewable sources, energy efficiency improvement in machines and appliances by a factor of 10 or more. Decrease in the water intensity of agriculture by a factor of 10 or more, or 5 at least. Use of information and communication technologies by teachers as well as students to bridge the huge deficiencies we have in our pedagogical resources. Because our youth, our children cannot wait for us to train teachers and for them to become experienced and then go out and, this is no time for all that. That is a linear model. By the time the teachers are ready, there will be no one to teach. Everybody would have become adults. So similarly, use of smart medical devices to screen patients and reduce the number that have to be seen by specialists by orders of magnitude 10 or more. Ideas are all of this kind. Everywhere these factors of 10 or more, this will keep coming, orders of magnitude. Because that's really what happened in the case of the mobile phone. I think this concept is very important, and I hope all students in all colleges, in all branches are taught this idea that if you want to have disruptive solutions, you have to think of order of magnitude changes. Order of magnitude changes in the way in which we provide our goods and services, in the way we consume resources. We have to consume much less resources to do what we want and to have our notion of what is comfort. In the reduction of pollution, we have to pollute an order of magnitude less. Indeed, we have to think in a new way, and we have to even think efficiently and achieve what we want with just the bare minimum of effort, but effort that is directed, effort that is focused, so that we also have time to do the real things for which we have come into this world, which Swamiji talked about. So you'll have to leave the beaten path, the path that has been shown by the people of the previous generation, both in India and elsewhere. That's not the path that's going to give you this. And too much of experience is not required, because actually if you go too much for experience, you'll just become like us. It's not going to help. You have to strike out and innovate. You have to be bold. You have to set up new ventures. More important, you have to learn to work together as teams. And I'm sure being in this university, you'll learn that much better than anywhere else. You have to conjure up new ways of doing things, new ways that will make huge differences. And always people will say, how can this work? You should not be thrown off. You must have a sense of conviction. You must also keep watching, because every idea that we have has a lot of flaws in them. So you have to keep modifying them. As you learn from the feedback that you get, humility gives you that feedback, ability to learn. So that you can get affordability, scalability, resource efficiency, execution time, everything can be reduced at the same time. Okay? There are no marks for incremental approaches, and I've done something which reduced the cost by 10%, or done something that makes it 15% better. Those things are okay, but those are not going to make any huge difference. Do the young Indians who are coming out in huge numbers out of our schools and colleges, or sometimes just out of their homes, do they have it in them to do this? I do not know the answer, and it's such a coincidence that just before me, Swamiji also referred to Swami Vivekananda. But I take heart from his words. In his writings, while insisting that India will rediscover her rightful place in the world, he has mentioned that we will do this. We will rediscover our rightful place in the world. He just asked us to have faith in ourselves. What he used the Sanskrit word Shraddha. He wanted us to have, and I'm just quoting here, that energy, that love of independence, that spirit of self-reliance, that immovable fortitude, that dexterity in action, that bond of unity of purpose, and that thirst for improvement, and that intense spirit of activity. Basically, I said it similar. I tried to say the same things in simple words, but basically this is what it is. You must not get, must not be driven by self-doubt. You must have that confidence that if you keep sincerely plugging away, you will get the big ideas and they will work. I am happy to say that I think the current young generation in India more than ever does believe in itself, and that's a very good thing. I think that's a big difference from what I remember of the times when we came out of college. This has been noticed by many social scientists, and indeed the can-do attitude is quite palpable. Sometimes some of us think it's a little too much can-do, but I think that's okay. That's better than not having it at all. But a can-do attitude alone is not enough. Most of us need some simple rules to live by. And this is where the importance of studying in a university like Amrita University under Amma's watchful care makes all the difference. Because we need simple rules to live by which can assure us that we are contributing to the common good. And it turns out that even in this, Swami Vivekananda had actually given very simple rules. Elsewhere in his writings, he has identified 3 great traits for a person, and one of them was actually, same words were mentioned by Swamiji before me. In fact, he mentioned these three necessary traits for both a person and a nation to be great. He said, you must have the conviction of the power of goodness. You must not question why. The conviction that goodness is very powerful. There must be absence of jealousy and suspicion. And each one of us must help all those who try to be and who try to do good. If you see anybody who's trying to be good, anybody who's trying to do good, you must go all out to help the person. I'm sure that here in Amrita University, Amma has taught you the same principles all these years. These simple traits are sufficient to keep us on the path of rectitude, and I urge you to imbibe these and make them a part of yourselves. I'll end here by wishing all of you the very best in the years to come. In particular, my hearty congratulations to all the prize winners today, both from the students and from the faculty and staff. May they continue to excel as they forge ahead and take this university, surging ahead and becoming one of the best in the world. We all have great expectations of the university and look forward to it becoming a guiding light in the world under the day-to-day supervision and benediction of Amma. I hope and pray you will simultaneously build an India that emerges as a beacon to the world, as Swami Vivekananda promised us in the 21st century. And I hope becomes a torchbearer for how one should live well, but more important, how to live wisely. Thank you very much for having me with you today. And I hope that I've managed to trigger some interesting thoughts in your mind. And I hope and pray that you all will excel yourselves. God bless you.